it's working. You fixed it. Your presence fixed
effect.
it. Are we rolling? Because my nose just started itching. Okay, and it always happens. Your nose starts itching once you.
Yeah.
Okay, we good?
An old saying in showbiz: the itchy nose
Means what?
action.
Should we break into springtime for? Okay. All right. Here we are, back at Hat Studio with fan favorite. Well, you're not really a fan favorite here yet because you haven't been on the show.
I'm a nobody here.
Kayla Ball, who is still bitter because you're not my first or second or even third guest. But if you do a good job, you can make it into because I haven't released any of them yet.
Yeah.
So you can get into the upper echelon.
I am the friends in low places for you, of all people. Which, what does that say about me?
Yeah, it's pretty far down. So,
I got a lot of thinking to
do. you're earning some points because the robot has been broken, and you showed up, and now it's working.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Spooky.
I don't know why. Maybe it's Halloween. What was it you wanted me to watch now?
What We Do in the Shadows.
What We Do in which is not your own personal YouTube series, but What We Do in the Shadows is a movie or a TV show or something, right?
It's a movie that a TV show on FX was made about. But no one has really seen the movie. So there's a TV show called What We Do in the Shadows. It's on FX.
Right.
Super popular.
Okay.
People ask me all the time, "Oh, do you like that
Must be
show?"
like
I'm
a millennial thing.
Yeah, but have you seen the movie? No one's seen the movie.
Is the movie real? Is it a real movie?
It's got Taika Waititi in it. He directed Thor, Love and Thunder, and Ragnarok, and
Sure. I mean, I've seen all those. I just don't.
Jojo Rabbit.
I guess I just don't know that name. Perhaps.
Yeah, he's great.
Jojo Rabbit.
Yeah.
I don't know that one.
Oh God.
I know Thor.
I'm friends in low places, and you've never even seen these movies.
So, so right before we started or actually after we started the camera, I mentioned that my nose started itching, and it hasn't stopped yet. So, so hopefully so you need to talk for a while because then the camera will go to you, and then I'll be able to itch my nose.
Okay.
Scratch my nose because it's itching. So welcome to the new show. And this is so for those maybe who didn't follow
Your previous work.
my previous work, which was all oil and gas. Well, there was the tech show, Oil and Gas Tech, and you were on that a couple of times, and then we co-hosted.
We did.
Unscripted, OGG Unscripted, which I thought was a great concept. It got out of the usual corporate industry box, but couldn't get any sponsors. We had one.
We should have gone to Total Wines.
We should have,
or one of the liquor shops.
I think you're right. And so that's why I wanted to do this new network, the new show, because we want to be able to talk about other. Because you and I. We've hung out and talked about lots of things besides work.
Yes.
Right. So
but we have also talked a lot about work.
So today we're not talking.
If I explain digital twin to you one more time,
it's not me. It's for the audience. It's not. You're not explaining it to me. I get it. So, however, not to talk about work too much, but congratulations, you are now in the Energy 40 under 40.
Thanks.
Is that you don't seem thanks.
I mean, it's a hard truth.
Yeah, that you're under 40, or that what does it mean exactly? I don't.
Depends on the day. Some days I feel over 40.
Yeah. Well, because your kids are all in high school.
Some days I'm happy to be under 40. Yeah. Not as cool as 30 under 30. Better than 50 under 50. But definitely a middle ground. It's hard to stomach.
Yeah, I think. Now you're better off. It's better than 30 under 30 because we said this before, but
yeah,
you're still a kid at that point.
I didn't know anything.
You didn't, because I knew you when you were under 30.
I know.
You didn't know. You didn't know very much. So, So so you got on. So you're on the list.
I'm on the list.
Is it ranked? Do you know if you're like number 38
It's
or
not
number
ranked.
30? So you
It's just all a bunch of squares
it's
with titles and
boys and girls, or just girls, or
boys and girls.
Boys and girls. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're so this is for but you got that's right. You said you got nominated. Somebody had to nominate.
Somebody nominated me.
You don't know who.
Committee voted, and I made the cut.
And you made the cut.
And I didn't have to pay.
And you didn't. So it's not like that best places
there's
to
a
work.
lot of things where it's like,
yeah, like the best places to work.
40 under
list,
40, and you're
right?
like, yeah, I know that guy definitely paid to be on that list.
Yeah, like I would have, right?
Yeah. Sponsored.
Okay. So you're on. So you're on the 40 under 40. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Also, you mentioned that you're so you're a woman.
Yeah.
That's, to me, that's clear.
Yeah.
And
Thank you.
and you're a woman in STEM.
Yeah.
And so I've been wondering this for a long time. What exactly? I know STEM is the geeks and the nerds, but what does STEM stand for?
You don't know what STEM
I don't know. Science.
Science, technology, engineering, mathematics.
So aren't those really all the same thing?
No, definitely not.
No?
I mean, they're all used
Kinda,
in cooperation with each other most
they
of
all
the time.
sort of overlap.
Yeah.
To some degree,
But it's
right?
a big movement,
So science.
especially in the schools of like encouraging kids to go into STEM.
This came up actually on a previous episode, which may not be a previous episode now that you're strong arming me into moving yours ahead of the others. but because I questioned, maybe it wasn't a previous episode, maybe it was just a bar conversation that I was having with Eddie, who I'm trying to get on the show. And I said, are we worried that we're only cranking out, like we're so focused on cranking out like science and tech people? Should we worry that we're not, like, what about good old fashioned like liberal arts educated type people and kind of those broad thinkers? Like, that's a component of society that, like, is it okay if we lose that? Like, are we becoming too focused on training people for specialized jobs rather than training people who are thinkers?
I don't necessarily see it as like conditioning people for a particular career. I think it's more about seeing yourself in a certain environment or aspect of life. And you don't see a lot of women in STEM careers, right? Like most people gravitate to where they will
the
feel
older generation like you.
Right.
I think the old people,
Yes.
the people that are over 30.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so if you do, I'm like, you're just pushing
You
me
didn't
up
really
the
take the
age
bait. You didn't take the
ladder
bait
here.
on that one. Okay, I'm going to try again later.
But I think people gravitate to where they can see an image of themselves, and it's not a ton of resistance that they're going to meet in certain aspects.
Yeah. I'm not sure if I understand
I
what you mean.
also champion like trade skills and
Yeah.
trade jobs. Like
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with
I think
any
we should,
of those.
Those should come back more. I think we should do more of that. Okay. So anyway, so STEM because you're a geologist, as
I
I
am a
love to
geologist.
point out. You're a geologist who never actually did any geology work.
Who quit? Well, I wouldn't say I didn't do geology work. I just quickly figured out that I didn't like rocks as much as I thought I would. I mean, when you come up through geology school,
Yeah.
it's fun. You get to go in the field,
trips,
you're
right.
drawing, you get to use colored pencils a lot.
Okay.
Art,
Fair
creative.
enough. Yeah.
And then when
Yeah.
you enter the workforce, you're like, oh, wow.
This is really boring. Yeah.
Really repetitive.
Yeah, sure. I mean, until you get to, I think you have to get further down the road, and we're not going to talk about work, but
Yeah.
I think later when you're, if you're working for a small operator, and you get to like kind of run your own well, right? Like you do the whole thing from beginning to end, and
Yeah, I'm sure that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, you got to go. Yeah, I'm sure it is. Anyway, so you didn't do that. But the other thing, and so instead you're in software, and that was how we first got to know each other.
Yep.
But you also but you're a mom.
I'm a mom.
And multiple times. Is it three?
Three.
Three kids, right?
Yeah.
There was one and then there was a few years, and then like like
Yeah,
wham bam.
I have an
right?
11-year-old and a
Yeah.
5-year-old and a 4-year-old.
The 11-year-old is the one who likes Lagrange.
No, the middle one is the one who loves the song Lagrange, the 5-year-old.
5-year-old.
Yeah.
I-
The 11-year-old is currently taking piano lessons and is forcing me to listen to Seven Nation Army on piano for 20 consecutive minutes a day.
It could be worse. I
So
think.
let's just call that his song.
It could be worse. Seven Nation Army. I don't think I've ever heard the piano version, but
It's intense.
yeah. Did he figure that out on his own, or did his teacher grace that as a
His
present?
teacher
Yeah,
helped
said
him.
said
so,
watch this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll teach you this, and then mom will.
Yeah. Here's
hear
a
it from-
cool song.
Here's a cool song. When I took guitar lessons in elementary school, the cool songs were like, "Love Potion Number 9."
We're not going to talk about what list you would be on.
Yeah, it's a different. It's a different list. Leroy Brown, that was a cool one.
Yeah.
Back then, that was a cool one. So, so you're a mom, 3 kids, and you're still married, right?
Yep,
Last time
still
we talked,
married.
you were still married, right?
Yep.
You guys been together. So the thing I think in this show, thinking about, and I don't know where this whole thing is going to go. I mean, as we do more and more episodes, we may meander around to other perspectives. But right now, we're still kind of in the realm of, we got this notion of the American dream. Most people that you talk to, in fact, most people that you talk to that come here from other countries, and I've had a couple now, will say, yeah, don't fool yourself. It's way better here than it is in a lot of other places.
Yeah.
But and we can have people, and we talked about the book, Adams's book, American Dream. But what I'm interested in, I think, is, so people come, not like listening to people who like spout philosophies about whatever. But
I've achieved the American dream, and you just need these 10 steps in this order to get it yourself.
Yeah.
And it should be exactly the same as mine.
Hold on. Can you tell me what those are? I have a pencil. So your story, you grew up, I remember the story, pink boots in the what did we say? The pink boots in the oil field with your dad, right?
I grew up here in Houston. Parents got divorced.
Not East Texas or West
East Texas,
or like
you've classified me as every part of Texas except the part I'm from.
You're from Katy.
Like, no, I'm from here. I'm from Katy.
Okay, but your dad was and still is in the oil field, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
and he lives out in Lagrange, so central
Lagrange,
Texas,
like the song.
if you will,
Yeah.
like the song. And kind of grew up. Neither of my parents actually got a 4-year degree. My mom went to school to be a dental hygienist. Turns out she hated teeth. So
okay, there's a pattern.
I know. I'm like, wow, I see a lot of myself in that.
Yeah. Teeth and rocks. No good.
And then my dad, I think he had like 6 hours left at A&M and went to work in the oil field. And parents got divorced at a really young age.
6 hours left.
6 hours left.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, we could qualify that.
It's worked out well.
Yes, it's worked out well for him. And so, kind of grew up with my dad. We split time. So when I was with my dad, I was traveling around South Texas, running title in the courtroom. I mean, I wasn't running title. I was making copies for him and learning lessons of like why no one else wanted to talk to
did he
me.
start out as a landman? Is that what he was? Yeah, okay.
Landman.
And even if you're a woman, you're still a landman.
Yep.
Is the way I understand it.
Yep.
Yeah.
There is no land person.
No.
It's landman.
Yeah.
So did that, kind of took on a mother figure for my sister and brother when we were with my dad, because, hair needs to be braided and
Yeah, and other things, right? Yeah.
things like that.
Yeah.
And then my mom went back to work and was a receptionist at the high school that I ultimately went into, and she got into recruiting and things like that. So she still recruits for midstream companies, and everything has worked out. But I definitely think that from an early age, watching my mom struggle and, not have a 4-year degree definitely kind of flipped this switch for me at some point around independence and not wanting to depend on anyone else for financial stability.
This is a common theme among a lot of women in the U.S. from, let's say, kind of from the 70s, or maybe the 80s forward, which is, and I've actually heard my next door neighbor say this, who we've known for many years, and she's about at least 20 years older than you, and is still married to the same guy for a long time, but this idea of, well, you need to make sure that you can have your own your own way if you need to, right?
It really depresses me to a certain extent when I watch friends or acquaintances lose their financial independence.
Like, where's she going with this?
Right? It's like, I'm like, why are you giving this up? You're losing your independence.
Well, what if they just...
Hey, sometimes it works out.
I mean...
It's not for everyone.
I mean, it's a trade-off.
Yeah.
Right? They're trading that for something. They're not just throwing their independence
to
the wayside.
No. They don't realize that they are, at least.
What do they think they're getting in exchange for their independence?
I think it is generally human nature to want to be taken care of and want to have a more relaxed lifestyle and situation and less stress in general. But I think I watch a lot of women give up their independence once they lose their financial independence.
So you're talking about so they get married, they stay at home. They're like, you're talking about stay-at-home mom. You're talking about something else. You're talking about women who just decide, I'm going to hang out at the pool instead of working. Like, what?
Yeah, I think once you lose the ability to have an equal say in decision making, are you going to get the new car? What house are you going to buy? How is your retirement plan?
So what aspect of, so when you say giving up their independence, do you mean like physically I'm not, they're not like earning their own money anymore?
Yeah.
Or do you mean like mentally they've kind of like thrown in the towel and it's like whatever the other
they're
person
not
wants?
Earning their own, they're not financially independent on their own.
That doesn't preclude you from having a say in what car you buy, right?
I don't think so, but I think it's a very unique situation where you get an equal say.
Really?
I still, even in my neighborhood, I have a lot of mom friends.
This is not how it works at my house, by the way, just so you know. But
I'm aware of. I can tell just by knowing you that that's not how it works.
It's kind of the other, yeah, okay.
But I talk to a lot of moms in the neighborhood where there's always this, well, I'm going to be at home with the kids, or so-and-so's out traveling for business, or, he's earning our retirement money, so I'm going to make sure that all the meals are taken care of. And it's not to say that
division
that's
of
less,
labor. Right?
Yeah, it's not to say that that's less than or not difficult. I mean, my maternity leaves, I was like, get me out of here. This is worse than working. Like, far, far worse for me.
Yeah.
Lack of adult interaction day to day.
Right.
It's very ungratifying. Like, no one says thank you for household chores. No one says thank you for unloading the dishwasher or folding the laundry or picking up the kids, rearranging the schedule. It's like, I was watching the Astros last night and I was sitting on the couch thinking.
Everyone was, yeah.
And I was sitting on the couch thinking, okay, don't panic spiral. It's just Red Ribbon Week with a theme day every day for all 3 kids.
But okay, what is Red Ribbon Day week?
Red Ribbon Week. It's like the say no to drugs, and each day is a theme of making healthy choices.
You wear red ribbons?
No. Well, they tie red ribbons on the tree. When I was in school, you wore a red ribbon. But now it's like, we're not making crazy choices. Wear crazy socks. Or
Okay.
we're all superheroes for making healthy choices. Wear a superhero costume. I mean, it's a theme every day.
Okay. So this is stressful.
So it's a thing in schools. So 3 kids,
This is why you drink so much.
3
though.
red ribbon weeks. Absolutely. Also, the little two needed small pumpkins so they could do class activities. So I had to go get small pumpkins. Kids coming off of cold season, is everyone okay? Does that cough sound weird? Also, like, did I get enough lunch meat for the week? And
Okay,
do
so
I have the Halloween costume?
So you're getting, yeah. So
the mental load.
Yeah. So you still got to do all that. Somebody still has to do all that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So for some people who decide, okay, I didn't know this is what we're going to talk about, but this is good. So for some people who say, okay, there's like, it's just division of labor.
Mm-hmm.
Like somebody has to do the making the money part, and or I shouldn't say somebody has, that part has to be done.
Mm-hmm.
And then this like all this like shit ton of work that has to be done at home has to be done, right? There's like lots of work to be done in both places, and maybe other places. Who knows? Maybe there's an older parent that has to be cared for. Or there's whatever, right? There's like
always something.
There's some front of work, right? So some people say, okay, well, you do that part, and I'll do this part.
Mm-hmm.
In which case, like traditionally in the U.S., it was, it was the guy.
Men go to work,
the guy
women take care of the house.
Right, but it was like
Understood.
Equal. Like it was a lot of work in both places, and if one of those people didn't hold up their end, then like bad stuff happened, right? Things fell apart.
Yeah.
Either you weren't able to make your house payment, or whatever.
Or people feel trapped. Like I earn my own salary. I have my own 401k. I have my own investments, and I go to sleep at night, never wondering if something happened to my husband tomorrow. Or if something went south and I needed to get out, I don't worry about what type of life would I be able to provide my kids. Would I be able to live in the same neighborhood? Would I be able to, take care of my kids on my own? Would I be struggling? Would I need to be on food stamps? I don't have any of those thoughts when I go to sleep at night, which I think is a lack of mental security for a lot of women who can't say that.
But there's other ways that you could take care of those things, right? Like you could say, well, I mean, there's life insurance, right?
Yeah.
There's long-term disability insurance. There's,
But what happens if my husband comes home tomorrow and says, this isn't for me anymore?
Yeah, that's a different problem. Yeah. You're not supposed to do that.
You're
That's
not
the
supposed
thing.
to do
That's the
that.
thing.
But pretending it doesn't happen every day to people.
Yeah, it does.
Or, you find out that your spouse is living a double life,
Yeah.
I mean, this stuff happens all the time.
It does. So what did people used to do?
Stay in it, suffer through it, be unhappy.
Right? Okay. Fair enough. So you're able, so the trade-off for you is you get to have, so you've got your career, right? Which provides, ample money so that if you, 40 under 40, you got to be like bringing it home and wagon loads.
It provides me satisfaction because.
And but the fact that you have to do that in addition to all that other shit you said about red ribbons and themes and all that, right? Like, and is there enough lunch stuff and everything? So it's worth it. It's worth it to do kind of 2 jobs so that you don't have
I'm willing
that.
to sacrifice my comfort for my own, mental, financial security in my mind.
Yeah.
And I'm lucky enough to be in what I would consider not a generation that's 100% there in terms of normalcy, but closer than my parents' generation where, there's one thing that makes me like just want to rage on someone. And it's when I'm listening to a man talk about babysitting his own kids.
No, it's called
like,
parenting.
Yeah, that's parenting, my dude.
It's not babysitting. It's called parenting.
But people do
Wrong
it
word.
all the time, right? And so, I
I'm
think
guessing your husband only said that one time, and then when he
No,
woke up,
he's never said it.
When he became conscious again.
he's never said it. And also, let me just caveat by saying, it takes both sides. I would not be able to have the career that I do and the flexibility and the achievements and the progress
Sure.
that I have without him making sacrifices on his end, and vice versa. I make sacrifices, and
Yeah.
you just kind of share the load. But there is this sort of stigma, and I think that's why there's a whole STEM movement, right? Like when I graduated high school and went to college, it was,
Back in olden times.
yeah, back in old times, horse and buggy. It was, almost celebrated. Oh, are you going into teaching? Are you going to get an education degree?
Yeah, school nurse.
Are you going to get a marketing degree,
Marketing
a
degree.
communications degree?
Yeah.
Things that quote unquote women are good at.
Yeah.
And when I enrolled in the geology department, there were 4 women out of 75 students.
Yeah.
4.
I'm surprised there were that many, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it was, yeah. No,
And this was 2004.
yeah, okay. So 4, yeah, there should have been.
Not that long ago.
Yeah, so there were 4.
And, when I graduated, people are like, so when are you going to get married?
Yeah,
When are you
sure.
going to have kids? Ultimately, they're expecting you to quit your job when you have the baby, stay at home.
People don't say that to the guy.
No one says it to the man.
Unless you are Italian, Jewish, or Greek.
Yeah, that's true.
In which case, yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, they say it to both sides.
Yeah.
But okay. So you guys, I'm gonna this is where I'm gonna try to like tie it back to the theme of the American dream, but it's all part of it, right? It's all part of how different people, I guess the important thing, or the thing to observe relative to this, is that you're in a place, you live in a country and a society where you could do that. Like, that's what you chose between you and your husband, either together or separate or whatever. This is what you chose, how you kind of chose to tackle life, right? Such that you could have the better, richer, happier life that you want to have. And you were able to do it, right? Because like society allowed for it.
Yeah. We had the means and we had the freedom to
to actually
do what we wanted, regardless of how anyone else perceived it.
Yeah. There wasn't anything really, and what I hear, and I haven't ever lived in another country. I mean, I've visited them, but it's the airport and a nice hotel and a nice restaurant, and I mean, so I've never lived anywhere else. But what I hear from people, and even from modern industrial countries, not necessarily, is, doing all that isn't so, doing all the things that you can do here isn't so easy. You don't just have the freedom to go, of course.
And, systems in place, childcare. I still get to send my kids to wonderful schools, people that I trust to make good impressions and
right.
educate my children in a meaningful way, given the fact that and I'll be honest, I don't want to do it myself. I don't want to teach my kids myself.
Yeah. Well, you've met your kids.
That's not my...
You know what kind of a job that would be.
I know. They're half me, so that would be some work.
Yeah, that would be.
Yeah. But even, I mean, I've traveled extensively internationally as well. And you go to other countries and you're in meetings, and I'm often the only woman.
Yeah.
Sometimes in the building. I'll never forget, I had a trip to Indonesia for a week one time, and almost every single meeting, we would make introductions, and when we were finishing, they would say, "Are you a miss or a Mrs.?" Every single time, right? Because they were just so shocked that I was there, and that I was not making the coffee, and that I was having technical discussions.
Right.
It was strange
in
to
Indonesia.
witness.
Yeah. So, right. So here, because, so again, going back to your strategy for life is, okay, this is how So I'm married and I have kids, but the way we're going to divide up things is not maybe the old way where you do all this part and I do all this part, because if you know, if you go wackadoo one day,
Yeah.
I'm left without, right? So instead, we're going to divide it up this different way, so that we're kind of hedging. It's hedging, right? You're really hedging, and
Yeah.
but you can't. But in some places, yeah, you wouldn't be able to do that. They just have to. Yeah, they're not.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not going to.
And you know, I'm also
Like, you would be just stuck, kind of like you said when I said, what did people used to do? You said, well, you were stuck. You just stayed in it because you were stuck. Well, that's still the reality,
Yeah.
right? For a lot of
took care of the kids because that's the societal norm.
yeah.
Regardless of if you were, you know, needing to be on antidepressants because
And
you
you stayed married.
couldn't take it.
Yeah. All right. So I gotta ask you this, because this comes, this is a constant theme, and so you've done all this, and because another thing that comes, I'm gonna approach this like from three different directions. Another thing that comes up is, well, the American dream isn't really achievable for everything, because in various different ways the system is kind of wired against certain people, be it minorities or women or what have you, and so therefore we need to like fix the system, like we need to turn the dials on the system and rewire it to give advantage to the people who haven't had, but like, in nothing that you've said so far, and I know we can't generalize based on one person's experience, but
Yeah.
all we have is individual people's experience. And nothing that you've said so far sounds like it was hard work, but
Yeah.
but what about this whole notion that glass ceilings and women are not given the same opportunity? And I mean, you seem like you're sailing right through. So.
As I drink more.
Yeah.
No,
It gets sweeter as it goes down, right?
I think I see both sides
Mm-hmm.
to that same coin.
Mm-hmm.
I would say I didn't really have anyone in my direct line of influence that was shattering glass ceilings for me by any means. I think I had a certain level of grit and was willing to play the game.
Mm-hmm.
I knew the game and how it needed to be played. And so I played
How
it.
did you know? How did you know?
Just observations.
Yeah.
You can just...
So it's not like you had to buy a secret code book. Like,
Yeah, you don't have to buy a secret
you could
code
figure it
book.
out.
You need to be self-aware.
Yeah.
You need to be hungry for personal connection to people. Even if I thought someone was a total, jerk.
Yeah. It's okay.
You know me. Other language would be preferred.
This isn't the other show. We don't have to. We don't have to only use the good words on this.
Jerk. Like I would still
I remember one of those.
try to. Oh yeah, I've worked for a lot. Make some sort of personal connection or.
Then they show up at your house.
Yeah, of just
Yeah.
Hey, I'm a human, you're a human. Can we and you can build yourself champions by playing the game, right? And it doesn't mean you have to go against your moral conviction or your ethics code or whatever.
You're not talking
but you
about
just
like being
have to
disingenuous.
acknowledge.
Yeah.
And I have a certain sense of humor and have to program a certain sense of humor when I'm the only woman in a room.
Yeah.
Especially in the energy field, right?
Sure.
I've laughed at a lot of jokes that I didn't think were very funny.
You remember any
They
of them?
just weren't. Oh yeah. I mean, tons. Probably at least 50% of them.
Yeah. Were any of them mine? I hope that none of them were mine.
No, I somehow find you genuinely funny. I look back on all these shows and I'm like, why am I laughing so much? Do I really think Michael's that funny?
Yeah, you do. That's the thing, is you do. So,
but it also it takes a lot of sacrifice and there are people that I know and even some of my family members that will make comments to other people around, oh wow, it's just a great life. Things seem so easy. She just seems like she's just right place, right time, coasting through it. And no, it comes with a lot of sacrifice. No one gets to that level without doing hard things. I've left babies and gone on overseas trips for
Sure.
2 weeks at a time. I have missed plays. I have missed, and rescheduled doctor's appointments. I've, missed vacations, things like that. But it was all my choice. That's the beautiful thing about it is I choose every day.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so it's not so life isn't happening to you
No.
some days.
And on the inverse side of that coin of like, we need mentors, we need people that can lead and be an image that people can recognize in themselves. At the same time, I am pretty resentful of status quo and like token appointments and hires and things like that. I know there are a lot of women in my field where I look at the title that they get and I think, wow,
Checkbox.
what did they do?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it undermines everything that I've done, right?
Yeah. I mean, that
Yeah, that's just life.
It is. And politics are politics. But so what do you, so now that you're an older person.
that I'm on the 40s list. Oh my God. 40, under 40.
Under 40.
That's the most important
Just
word
barely
in
under.
that list. Under.
Just barely. I said this before, but I don't think when I first met you, I don't think I realized how young you were because you just projected older, which kind of goes back to all that what you were saying. But so now that you're an older professional woman and you undoubtedly have younger ones around you, do you is that an opportunity to I don't really.
No, I take mentoring very seriously.
Yeah.
And it's strange because at my first job, it was, really up and coming that women were mentoring women. I'm a big fan of
I'm
men
gonna get yelled at for that right there. That
mentoring women too. I would say most of my best mentors are actually men. Because they help
men
me
are smarter.
think in a different, they help me think in a different
and they mature
aspect,
faster,
right?
So yeah.
Well, men are just more.
They have a different angle. They have a different perspective, right?
Yeah, I mean, when I choose to switch a job, I'll call one of my first bosses and say, "Okay, here's what they offered me, and here's all the incentives, things like that. What's your take?"
Yeah.
And he'll say, always ask for 25% more on the salary and always ask for 20% more equity.
Yeah.
And, to me, I've been conditioned for most of my life to kind of just take the pat on the head and say, thank you for the opportunity. And wow,
so
me.
I've heard this before. So I've heard this theory that one of the reasons why women, when they do these surveys and they look at and they say, well, women in the same job as men get paid typically X amount percentage less, right? Mm-hmm. That one of the theories is not so much that it's a bias against hiring the women, but that women don't negotiate and they don't tend to negotiate, they don't tend to ask, and men do. And anybody who's done like what you just said, anybody who's become a seasoned job changer knows that if you ask, most of the time you're going to get something.
Yeah.
Right. So is that?
And what's the worst? They say no.
Right.
They say no.
Yeah.
But no, it's very.
I hear no a lot actually, but yeah.
Conditioned learning, but at least right?
Yeah,
at least you asked and where you stand. Where, for probably the first half of my career,
so
I was just appreciative.
So why is that? Because you're not a timid person.
I am non-confrontational.
Are you?
I know, it's shocking when I say it out loud.
It is.
And I also am very cognizant of being less emotional. And I try to be less emotional, even though a lot of my decisions and a lot of the things I say are based on intuition. Mm-hmm. I never want to be seen as emotional because if you're an emotional woman, you're unhinged, right?
Yeah.
Like you're a bitch, you're bossy, you're not confident. It's
right.
The opposite end of that spectrum. And so I just kind of stuff everything down and,
interesting.
resist the urge because I do want to be seen as appreciative and I do appreciate everything that I've been afforded in life. But if you don't ask,
Right. Yeah. Then
the answer is default no.
Right. Right. So do you think, is that the case? So if that's common, if most women in the professional world don't ask for, don't negotiate,
Yeah,
don't,
I would say most don't ask.
is it just an inherent like Mars and Venus type, like how men and women are wired, or is it conditioned by
I think
society?
it's very. There's no one thing. I think
Yeah.
it depends on the person. I think it depends on the situation. I think it
Yeah.
depends on the timing.
Right.
But I see a lot of young women come up through the workforce, and there are two things that are standard as part of my mentoring, and it happens across all women. Is one, respect yourself and have respect for what you do.
Yeah.
I see a lot of, cutesy, and I'm going to talk in a baby voice, and I'm going to play dumb because it
see
gets
that?
me attention. Yes.
Really?
Yes, still. And I'm going to subtly flirt, and, they think that's their way of playing the game if they've
None of
never
this sounds
seen
like
it.
you, by the way.
Well, it's not me.
None of that
It's
is.
not.
I've never seen. Yeah, that I've never
Yeah.
seen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the second one is always ask.
Yeah.
But not ask from the expectation. Ask from doing your own research. What is your fair market value?
Yeah.
How many years of experience, and what's your degree level, and what's your skill set, and what do you bring to the table? And bring it with evidence when you're having the negotiation conversation. Don't just ask for it to expect it. Come with some level of proof of why you deserve that particular thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you'd be shocked at how little people get, because hard advice or hard truths are difficult to share. People don't want to give candid and difficult feedback. That doesn't feel good because it can be detrimental to that person if they're not ready to receive it. But I mean, my first mentor, it was right when they started mentoring, right? And so
when it became a real thing, right?
I said, "Hey, Kayla, your mentor is Jerry." And she was the top sales performer. And looking back, like,
you were selling?
She was, I went into sales of all things. And she got after it. She was the top rep every quarter, every year. I mean, she was making some bills. Okay. And she hated me. She didn't give me the time of day. She was so critical of me. One time I wore capri pants. It was a suit, but it's hot in the summer.
Yeah.
And they were capri pants. And she reported me to HR and said I was wearing shorts to the office. So HR came down to my office, and they had me stand up, and they were like, Jerry. Of course. And so the CEO calls me in one day, just like, I think it was my 6th month into the company. And he said, "Hey, how's the mentoring going?" I was like, "Well, you know how some animals eat their young in the wild? That's kind of how it feels." Like, if you're going for the tough love and like really want me to be scared, it's going great.
So why did she? I mean, did she hate you right from the beginning, like right from the get-go?
Because I also think women are conditioned to compete with each other in the workforce. Like, there is one woman seat at the table. We're not conditioned to think, okay, there could be all women at this table. We're all fighting for our own, piece of the pie and spotlight of the available attention.
So that's obviously something that's been going on then.
But I think that's changing.
Is it?
I think generationally.
I keep forgetting how old you are. Yeah, you're talking about way back.
Yeah.
Way back.
Yeah.
When you were young.
2008 seems like a long time ago. But I do think you have enough women to where you can share. There's enough to go around, and I think people are being more intentional about sharing opportunities too.
I think it depends on the industry to some extent.
Oh, for sure.
The field, because most of my the bulk of my career before before we met and I was in software, was like big IT consulting. Not like the servers and boxes and wires IT, but like the application, like the ERP and the enterprise integration and the consultants come in and they build a bunch of shit and then they leave. Right. That was where what I grew up in, and I went up through the ranks of, like I went from being a lowly senior consultant to you're a project manager and now you're an engagement manager, and eventually you own a practice or a P&L, and so in that business we hired a lot of people because you're spinning up a new project, you got to bring a lot of people on,
you need the bodies,
you make decisions really fast, and that some of them aren't going to make it. And so we hired, I don't know how many hundreds, if not thousands of people I was involved in hiring, either directly or somebody on my team was hiring people. And I can honestly say that whether it was a man or a woman never factored into the thinking. And it never factored. Now, the fact is we still had a lot more men than women just because there wasn't as many women that showed up. Yeah. Right. There just wasn't, and they weren't all like really technical. They weren't all STEM. We didn't say STEM back then, but there were jobs that were project managers and there were jobs that were like other things. So it wasn't all technical, business analysts and things like that. So there were just more men than women, but it never that was never really part of the thought process, and it never impacted whatever the salary was, whatever the pay was, that's what the pay was. We offered the same pay to everybody until they negotiated. But so it really wasn't, and I know plenty, and back during that time, and I had this conversation with Ali Cedeno, who runs the Women Offshore podcast for OGGN, because she tells stories about her experience, showing up offshore as a woman. Yeah. And they were very different from, and I was talking to her one time, I said, I remember, these project teams, you're traveling together, you're on a project team. The women, at the end of the day, I know plenty of women that were at the bar with the men all, blowing off steam at the end of the day. There wasn't really that.
But were they also playing traditional woman roles?
Like what?
So I would say I've had the fastest career growth, both when I was young and single or newly married.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, were they also, okay.
And when I...
No, they were not.
Yeah. So
most of the time. The ones, there were some that were.
Yeah.
But that was different.
But it's very infrequent, right? And now that my kids are getting older,
right?
The same type of growth, because I can get on a plane, I can go to happy hour, I can do all these things outside of normal working hours because it's more conducive to my family life. But women with babies, women with toddlers, oh man, it's enough to make you crack like an egg.
But that's just a limitation of, okay, so I can only do so much. But what I'm
only do so much, and you get passed over for promotions if you're not part of the group.
Sure. But like what Allie has described in the offshore world is she got out there and realized that these guys don't want me here. Mm-hmm. Right? They really don't want me here. Now, I don't know if we should be so surprised that a bunch of guys in an offshore platform that have been are used to just being guys. Throw a woman in the mix and, it kind of it's a little weird.
That's definitely a particular instance. And that's why you don't find a lot of women going offshore, going into operations, wireline logging, all that kind of stuff, because it's very male oriented. But even though I was in energy, I was still in the software sector of it. And I was in corporate America. I was working in the corporate office. Everyone was driving to go play golf or whatever after. I mean, they weren't working out in the field. But it was definitely, if I didn't speak up, if I didn't voice my point of view, if I didn't command the seat at the table, it was not given to me. No one ever, I think... My current job is
Doesn't that go for everybody, though?
No.
No?
No, not necessarily. this is my first job where I work for two founders who will literally stop a meeting and say, I want to hear what Kayla has to say about this. And
I can't imagine
I've been
anybody
working
ever
for
say.
15 years. Shut up.
I don't know why anybody would say that. You're just asking for trouble at that
I
point.
know. Like real contentious discussions and
Yeah.
decisions. But I mean, and
You're
and
saying
I'm
this where you are now.
This is my first job that anyone has ever stopped a meeting and said, I want to hear what you have to say about this.
Yeah.
And you know me, I'm not a timid person. I'm not quiet. But unless
do know
you're
that.
given, the space.
Yeah, you're not going to be obnoxious and try to like butt your way.
Yeah, because then you just seem power hungry.
Yeah.
Or a know-it-all.
Annoying. So what do you? So your kids are getting old. Wait, so it's 2 boys and a girl? What is it? No, 2
boys and a girl.
2 boys and a girl.
Yeah.
So so how does all this wisdom that you've garnered now,
Wisdom.
and all this success that you've had, and all these great
all the therapy
observations,
I've gone
and
to.
all the therapy that you've gone, how do you so your kids are getting one is 11, and then what did you say 5 and
4.
5 and 4. So 5 and 4 still a little early yet. 11, old enough to start. Like, how are you taking all this that you've figured out about life, and because it's not just the girls that need to learn it, it's the boys too, right?
Yeah.
How are you translating all that into their heads?
Well, and I think that's the unique thing, right? And the thing that I probably enjoy the most is because I'm this kind of living testament to questioning the status quo.
Yeah.
You see something, question it.
Mm-hmm.
Why not?
Yeah.
And also giving them the
George
model.
Carlin said that, by the way, I think.
Oh, really? Oh, God.
Pretty sure, yeah. He said, don't just read, question everything you read.
Yeah.
And don't believe anything the government says.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with all that.
Yeah.
But, it's also the example of, hey, guys, I'm going to go do this. I'm sorry I'm going to miss this. I don't want to miss this. This
Right.
isn't fun for me, but I got to go get this done, right? And so, and you can even see it with my children. They'll say they have more of an appreciation for the things that they have, right? So they'll get a toy and say, oh, wow, Mom, thanks, or Mom and Dad, thanks so much.
Mostly Mom.
And then after they play with it for a couple hours, they'll come back and say, wow, toys cost a lot of money and you have to work hard to earn monies.
You dreamed of this. Is this really what they really do?
What they come back and say.
That's amazing.
And it's very
Who says nobody says? And you started out at the beginning.
gratifying.
You said nobody says thank you.
yeah, I mean,
They say yeah.
well, they don't say thank you. They say thanks for the toys,
Yeah.
not thanks for doing all the things.
Fair enough. But they recognize that.
But they understand that, hey, I have things in life and
Yeah.
those things cost money and
Yeah.
you have to work hard by earning money.
Huh. Do you
wild
suspect
to
maybe their
watch.
dad puts them up to that?
No,
This is what you need to do. Go tell Mom.
no.
I'm not saying I would have ever done that.
I also, it's interesting to observe in my daughter as
Yeah.
well,
That's
because
the 5, the 4, the 3,
the 4.
the 4,
Four.
4.
And she does not have a normal, I'm going to marry a prince and
Oh,
all
yeah?
these fairy tales. Like, even look at the Disney movies that are coming out, and some people will hate on it and all that kind of stuff. I love Frozen. There's no Prince Charming that comes in and saves the day. It's more realistic. A lot of the things that they're doing.
I don't
and,
really know what it is.
telling
but-
these children are more realistic in terms of love yourself, have
Yeah.
your own self-identity, don't care what other people think, be happy, be independent. Whereas, I grew up with, gotta go to the ball, gotta marry a prince,
Yeah.
gotta find your man, gotta
Yeah.
get taken care of. It's very different.
Yeah. I don't think, I think we don't have the time or the expertise to dig into this too much. I think there's probably good and bad aspects of both of those models. Like, neither one of them is
For sure.
like there's because you can get into things like um, uh, the the weakening or strengthening of the family, like the family unit,
For sure.
and what how society.
I mean, my
and things like
generation is going to screw our kids up
Yeah.
in some special way, just like your generation screwed your
Yeah.
kids up in a special way.
Yeah, they did. So it's good. I can't think of anything else, so we should start. What any? All right, so let's wrap it up like this. So when you think about this this notion of the American dream, and you think about like your experience in your life, like what do you think? Is it?
I think that education is the ticket.
Yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong with. I mean, education is education.
Education comes in different ways, in different forms.
Education, education. But
School of Hard Knocks, that was my personal favorite.
It opened my perspective to a much broader world of possibilities.
Mm-hmm.
And I also think that I had a life circumstance where I didn't want to see myself in that position. I knew from an early age that I wanted financial independence and stability, and used education to get that, but not without sacrifice. Like this whole easy street type of mentality, that's not how it goes.
Yeah. No. So I didn't need that anymore. Done with that. This notion of hard work comes up a lot, and that is kind of. If you ask people what they think, if you ask people about the American dream, you get two common notions. One is, well, it's different for everyone, which, I guess it is, but the other thing that you hear a lot as well, if you work hard, so anybody in this country, in this society, anybody, and when we say anybody, there are always like the outliers. There's always the situations that are exceptions that everybody likes to build a case around whenever they want to disprove the general, thing. And so, so if you leave out the special, the outliers, for the most part, anybody can get an education, work hard, do the right thing, and realize. And the other thing that is, when we say when Adams in his book, when he said better, richer, happier life, and he qualifies richer by saying, he says it's not just a dream of, motor cars and something else. I forget what he says. This is 1931, right? But it's not just affluence, but
champagne dreams, caviar wishes.
Yeah.
Is that backwards?
I don't know, but it sounds pretty good so far. So
Lifestyles of the rich and famous. Just because you have a yacht doesn't make you happy.
Yes. But better doesn't necessarily mean better than anyone else in particular. It just means better than what you might have had you not done those things, right? Had you not worked hard, had you not, like if you get an education in whatever way it comes, and you work hard, and you play the game, or whatever all the things are that you need to do, then odds are you can be better off than you would have been had you just sat there and waited for something good to happen to you.
Yeah. And it is
or
true
I wish
that
the system would just take care of you somehow.
Yeah, and it's not a one size fits all. Some people might listen to this and say, "I'm not playing the game. What is this? What are you talking about? We're not here to play the game." I'm just saying, like, I played the game. That was a card that I played.
Yeah. Well, everybody's gonna play one game or another, I guess.
Yeah.
But not in a way that's well, I don't know. That's a whole nother game playing is a whole nother topic. We don't have time for. I'm watching the little. You notice in the new studio now we have
I know.
We have a little counter.
Very ominous.
It tells us that we've been talking for pretty much an hour now, so we should.
Gosh, I gotta go get one of my kids.
You could probably got to go get one. See, this is where the trouble starts. Now, I remember we did a podcast episode for the Oil and Gas Tech Show, and we met at your favorite, the bar where everybody knows you. What's it called? The Texas Tea.
Where everyone knows me.
Yeah, you said everybody knows you.
You were the one that had a tab under your name.
and you sat down and you were like, okay, I only have 25 minutes because I got to go get my kids. I got to go get my kids. Yeah. So anyway, well, thank you. And I promise that even though that you are what did I say? The 8th one that I've recorded?
Now,
the 7th
please
one
don't release me 8th. It'll be a major blow.
I know. Well, I know your ego is fragile, so I'm gonna.
It really is.
I'm gonna move it up into the top. But good stuff. I think. So here's what we can end on. It reminds me of something that I believe was said by the great Marilyn Monroe, who said. What did she say? She said, I never said it would be easy. I only said it would be worth it.
That is 150,000% true.
Bingo.
Bingo.
All right. That's it. We're done.